Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, great to have you with us on the show today. Brought to you by our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, motorcycle, boat, RV. They'll do everything they can to save you money. They'll also do everything they can, always, to make sure you're fully insured. And also, we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Nummels Wharf. Online at sunburymotors.com. And time now for our play-by-play call of the day.
And Harmon makes his history at Hoylake. That's the 15th American to win this championship in the last 20 years.
And another lefty has a major. Fifth different left-handed player to win the big one. The first one coming in the Open in this championship 60 years ago this month. Bob Charles, Chris Mike Weir, Phil Mickelson, and fellow Bulldog, Bubba Watson.
59 putts for Brian Harmon of 10 feet or less in the tournament. He made 58 of them. That's how you win. Accurate off the tee. One guy, he got heckled, especially on Saturday when Tommy Fleetwood, he got heckled. Right? And he said yesterday he had made a couple of bogeys early, which he had done on Saturday as well. He's walking up, and they said, "What got you back on track?" He says, "Some heckler looked over at me." He says, "Hey, Harmon, you don't have the stones to win this thing." He said, "That motivated me." Like, who says that to somebody else? I mean, really. Honest to goodness, who says that to somebody else? It's like having a rant every day on the radio. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But that's especially a violation, though, on the golf course. I mean,
but it's a violation anywhere. Come on, like somebody seems to take great pleasure in saying something negative, either to somebody or about somebody, and they seem to take great pleasure in it. Why? I don't get it. I'm big on rooting for something and not against something. Unless I'm in a position like I'm a Yankee fan where I've got really nothing to root for, so I can only have like the ability to root against something.
Get the lingerie on the deck. Call the janitor.
No, not true.
well, when you're showing the Aaron Judge simulated game, you know you got problems.
They showed a simulated game?
Yes, and this leads to my next rant that I was going to bring it up. But since you brought up the whole Judge thing, I might as well bring it up now. Yes. At the most of the Yes pregame show yesterday, half of it was coverage that they taped of a simulated game between Jonathan Loaisiga and Aaron Judge. Are you serious? The only time I want to see Aaron Judge swinging a bat in a Yankee uniform is with the real pinstripes on in a real game. I mean, this must have been a publicity stunt that the Yankees wanted Yes to do. I mean, talk about an insult to your fan base right now. Actually, putting salt in the wound to your fan base. They know the team's missing Aaron Judge. They know he's taking forever to get back. And so you toy with them by televising a simulated game? Are you serious? The only time I want to give me all the reports you want, that's fine. That's what your job is. But don't toy with me and the rest of the Yankee fan base by putting on a stinking simulated game when God knows when he's going to come back anyway. Who cares? I just want him back on the field.
Do we know whether the simulated game was Aaron Judge in simulation, that was AI, or it was actually him?
Oh, my almighty!
That's the question of the day. I don't know. Because then later on, there's a photo out there of him and Giancarlo Stanton at some rapper's concert. Now I forget who it was. But the problem is, I don't want to be seeing that out there, especially when you've been hurt for 2+ months now. And Stanton shouldn't even be out there because of the horrendous season that he's had, though he's been swinging the bat a little bit better lately. But I near vomited when I saw that photo. But getting back to the original point here, enough with the simulated crap.
What was the photo?
Him and Giancarlo Stanton were at, I forget, some rapper's they're a special guest to some rapper's concert in Brooklyn, I think it was. And they went after the Yankees had their afternoon game against the Royals over the weekend. But it kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, especially with Judge, because he's the one working back from injury right now. At least Stanton's is swinging the bat better than what he has the entire season.
Is he over 210?
Who knows at this point? I'm just glad he's swinging the bat better.
Well, let's look at the stats. Let's just see, for the heck of it.
He might be, actually.
Let's see here. They're not playing tonight, right? They play the Mets next, right?
Yeah, Mets for a 2-gamer, and then they go to Baltimore this week.
Well, they go to Baltimore. Oh, what? That's a road game.
Correct.
Against a team that's good.
Yes. And they're going to be the Sunday night game. They got flex this week, by the way. Sunday night baseball is going to be Yankees-O's.
Good, because America wants to see the Orioles.
Yeah, that's exactly right, because the O's are in first place.
I think people want to learn more about them. I mean, that is...
I don't blame them for it. I think it's a good move by Sunday night baseball.
No, I do too. I think it's a great move by Sunday night baseball. I saw Dick from Milton Friday night, by the way.
All right.
He was at the Cutters game.
There you go.
And it was great to see him. And he's I don't know. He says, because the Orioles have the Phillies tonight.
Yes.
But he was excited about what they've done to this point.
You should be.
Well, I know he should be. He should really be excited about it.
If anybody deserves this Orioles season, it's Dick from Milton.
Yeah,
if I must say so myself.
He's put a lot into it. So what they get the Mets? It's going to be kind of weird them going on the road. Yeah.
Actually, this is about the 80th time they've gone to Baltimore this year, so it's whatever at this point.
Don't think so. The Yankees have played way more home games than road games. Not even close.
No, but I bet about the times they've gone on the road, it's been to Baltimore at least once. That's my point.
Let's see. How is your guy doing? Stanton. Ding, 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 ding. He's in 207, so he's not over 210.
But he's at least over 200. Baby steps.
He was hitting 201 before. He's up to 207. I don't call that advancement.
Oh, I thought he was in the 190s last time we had checked the stats.
He's played 50 games out of 99.
But he finally cracked over 10 home runs.
He's at 13 now.
Yeah.
He played 100 games. He's played 50. Judge has played 49. Trevino's out for the year.
I'll miss him behind the plate, but I won't miss his bat.
Yeah, he's hitting 210. Ishikawa is hitting 223. I know. God, you're really gonna miss Donaldson. No. Okay.
No, senor! No, senor! No, senor!
But under the category of why you don't give long-term contracts, like really long, like DJ LeMahieu is a good example. First 2 years with the Yankees, every time he came to the plate, I looked at him and went, boy, this guy's going to get some hit somewhere. And I thought it was a great acquisition. But he has steadily declined the last couple of years. He's only in 233 this year.
Yeah, he's been very frustrating.
But that's what happens with time. And the guy you want to trade is Gleyber Torres, and he's hitting better than all of them. He's second on the team in home run.
I always loved Torres' bat. It's his glove that stinks.
Second RBI.
Yeah.
264. He's actually, plays every game, which is kind of weird for Yankee stars.
I like him as a DH, not in the field.
Let's see. Where are you right now? Ooh, I had to go to the bottom. There they are. They're in last place.
There it is. Behind your Red Sox, I believe.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
It's because they're in last place. Normally, last place means everybody's in front of you. I don't mean to define this for you. The Phillies are 11.5 back. The Braves are just really... You haven't even played the Braves yet, have you?
No, and that's not going to be a good series.
Well, good series? How about multiple series? You have to go there, and then they have to come to your place.
That's 6 L's right there.
I mean, the Braves are really, really good. We haven't really talked much about them. And I guess they acquired Johnson and Hearn from Colorado to give the bullpen a boost. They got more now. I mean, Acuna's having a great year. This is what stars do, Matt. They play every game, and they have 23 home runs, 58 knocked in, 332. They play every game.
All right, look at Bryce Harper and what he's done. He's flashing Gold Glove plays already in his first 3 starts at first base in Cleveland over the weekend.
Riley's got 22 home runs. Olson's got 32. Nobody ever talks about it. Matt Olson. That was one of the great pickups the Braves had from Oakland when they lost Freddie Freeman. Albies has been doing well. Osuna is not. He's hit for power, but not average. Eddie Rosario, good, solid player. I mean, Arcia, solid player. Michael Harris, solid player. Sean Murphy behind the plate, solid player. Travis d'Arnaud, solid player. These are all to go with their stars. And then you get to the pitching. Remember, this is the group that everybody said after they won the World Series, how good were they going to be? They lost Freeman. And last year they were okay. But Spencer Strider, phenomenal. Bryce Elder, terrific. Charlie Morton, Old Man River, 3.36 ERA. Wow. And their bullpen is terrific. A lot of good things about this team. Man, bullpen ERA could be a little further down, but Iglesias has 18 saves. A.J. Minter has 10 saves, 11 holds. Nick Anderson's been really good, 15 holds. Jesse Chavez, right, 1.55 ERA, 13 holds. It's a heck of a team. Let's look at how much their payroll is. No, we don't want to do that, do we? No.
Yeah, I think we've gotten the idea by now.
You sure?
I'm positive.
God, you spent a lot of money. Today, let's see. I try to think. ACC Media Day is this week. It's first. I'm trying to think if it's. I think it starts tomorrow, right? Because the Big Ten's Wednesday, Thursday. ACC Media Days. Yeah, it's tomorrow and Wednesday. There's going to be a lot of talk there about abandoning divisions, because that's out as of now. So there'll be no Coastal, no Atlantic. It's going to be 1 through 14 in the ACC. And what's interesting is you notice that most of the time they'll send older players to this. But Clemson is sending Kate Klubnik among their 3 players, the quarterback, the sophomore. How about that? Interesting. 10 teams will be bringing a quarterback to the event. Like Georgia Tech, for example, is not. Neither is Louisville. But, like, for example, Tyler Van Dyke's going for Miami. Drake May is going for North Carolina. And Mac Brown has a lot of... I listened to Mac Brown be interviewed at a tournament out in Pebble Beach. And he was talking about all the... the fact that he said that Drake May is a legacy. Father played there. His brother Luke May hit the game-winning shot. A couple of game-winning shots in the NCAA tournament. All right? Helped keep him there. Like, okay. That's what I find to be interesting. And he'll probably talk about that. Brent Pry's not going to bring his quarterback. But 10 of the 14 are bringing their quarterbacks, which is good. And then, of course, Jim Phillips is going to be asked about the Northwestern situation, and he's going to be asked about realignment. He will decline all questions on Northwestern for legal reasons because he's being named in lawsuits. He'll probably be asked if he'll resign. He'll probably say no. In fact, he will say no. And when it comes to realignment, he'll tell you that they're solidified. Now, how solidified they are remains to be seen. The problem they're going to have is this. If somebody decides to challenge this in court, and I saw an interview that Bubba Cunningham did with some podcast. He's the athletic director of North Carolina. All you got to do is walk in with a piece of paper and saying, is this the signature of your university president on this piece of paper? And if the answer is yes, I rest my case. We're done. You signed it. We're finished. Big problem. Big problem. And yes, there is a gap. But this is a gap that we pointed out many, many times on the show, over and over again. I've said that the SEC and the Big Ten are separating themselves from everybody else financially. And this is just graphic evidence of it. Always remember, there are two elements that come into play when you want to expand. Number one, it has to be somebody that, okay, I can take a pizza and I can cut it into 14 even slices. And suddenly somebody says, hey, I want 16 slices of pizza. And the pizza is the same size. Well, all the slices are going to be smaller. Unless you then come in and say, look, financially, I want, instead of a large, I want an extra large pizza. And I can cut it into 16 pieces and all the slices are bigger than the larges. That's what this comes down to. You have to have somebody that comes on board that increases the payout for everybody. Which then brings us to the second element. It's the element of organization. You're not just managing 14 to now 16 football programs and scheduling for them, and 14 to 16 men's basketball programs and 14 to 16 women's basketball programs. You're doing this for 22 sports. Now, there are some sports that not everybody participates. Wisconsin does not play baseball. USC, UCLA don't wrestle. Okay, so some of that's going to stay relatively the same. But you have to do this for 22 sports. You have to schedule for everybody. How do you work around it? And before you say, hey, the door is open, unless it's Notre Dame, because regionally they fit right in. So unless it's them, who do you want to turn to? It has to be somebody that takes the financial number and makes it bigger for everybody. Or at least carries their own weight and the number's even so everybody doesn't lose any money in it. It has to be that. If it's not, it is not worth doing at all, because then you've got the headaches of now scheduling it. And you have to have the organization to do it. And you have to see if this thing works first. All right, we'll take a break. Come back. Matt is on a roll. Don't stop him. I'm getting all sorts of texts. Don't stop Matt. Don't stop him. Oh, wait a minute. A lot of these didn't include the word don't. All right, we'll come back with more in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, RV, motorcycle, boat. They'll do everything they can to make sure you are fully insured, but they'll also do everything they can to save you money. In certain cases, you can go over state lines to do it. They'll find that way for you. Sometimes it's bundles. But customer service means everything to them. And all you have to do is, look, the Purdys are great people. Yeah, everybody through them. Okay? The entire organization. And Matt and I will be a part of the Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament, which is just 16 days away at the Susquehanna Valley Country Club to benefit the Greater Susquehanna Valley YMCA. So please join us for that. All right. And today's show brought to you by also Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia. Routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf, online at sunburymotors.com. All right. So, yesterday, Scott Rowland, Fred McGriff inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Also, Pat Hughes and the cast one. Congratulations to them. It is the time of the year where, okay, I would like to point out that, in all fairness, how important it is for writers to keep writing, and they have to come up with stories as often as possible because they need to keep the name out there and just to keep going. It is a tough time to be a writer for any kind of news or sports outlet in the country. Very tough time. When the New York Times cuts its entire sports staff, the New York Times cuts its entire sports staff, you sit back and go, yo. Now, I know the New York Times owns The Athletic, but they cut their entire sports section. There's no New York Times beat writer at the Yankees game, no New York Times beat writer at the Mets game. There won't be any at the Knicks or the Giants or the Jets. It's the New York Times. When they're doing that, that sends a shockwave through the industry when that happens. When The Athletic, which I think is the last chance, and I've said this before, so I'm not just saying this out of turn. I've felt for years that The Athletic was the last real chance at long-form journalism in this country and maybe even the world. And they just cut 20 people, including our good friend Rob Beertemple. And these are all people I respect. But we're also at that time of the year where the stories that are being put out, you sit back and go, okay. I mean, a lot of it is speculative. Every once in a while you get a really terrific article like, the article is put out, Inside Penn State's dramatic Big Ten entrance, an A for outcome and F for execution. Now that's really well done. Okay? And that Scott Docterman and Audrey Snyder wrote it. Now, is there anything in here I didn't know? Nope. I was there when it happened. I was at least around covering it when it happened, and I talked to a lot of people leading into it that gave me an idea. That it could happen. But there are too many stories such as Giants wide receivers at Slayton upset about Daniel Jones's Madden ranking. Who cares? It's a video game. You're upset about your ranking in a video game? I mean, that's a story? What your ranking is in Madden? How many stories have you seen about Madden rankings in the last 10 days? Really? I don't know. A lot of things are speculative, especially at this time of the year. What do you think Penn State's record's going to be? Man, everybody I shouldn't say everybody. There are elements that criticize James Franklin talking about the 1-0 mentality. And I realize people want to look at, I've told the story how many times on the show about 2005, driving down to Camp Hill, and Jack calls me up, and we're just chit-chatting about what was seen in the preseason. And Jack says, so what do you think the record could be? This is 2005. And I said, boy, I tell you, I think they're a double-digit win team. Now, remember, they've gone 3-9 and 4-7 respectively the last 2 years. So you're talking about a program that's been 7-20, 7-16 in 23 games? And I said, this could be a double-digit win team. Jack said, I think they're going to be 11-1. I said, it's funny. It's exactly the number I was thinking. So I hang up the phone, go in, I park the car, I go in, and I get the question. What do you think our Penn State's record's going to be? Now remember, they've been 3-9 and 4-7 the previous 2 years. 7-16. I said, I think they could be 11-1. Everybody looked at me like I should be taken off to the funny farm. Okay. And then, of course, I get asked the question. And who's the one? I don't know. And that's the last time I ever gave a record in public. But I thought, you know what? That doesn't make any sense. I do everything one game at a time anyway. I shouldn't be. Because you always get that. I think they're going to be 10-2. Who are the two? I got it. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, they won 11-1. I want to take a moment to thank everybody associated with the Williamsport Crosscutters for Friday night. Gabe Sinacropi, Jayhawk, Ian, Rob, everybody. And then my guy Kyle, who was assigned to me, was just tremendous. He goes to Penn State Schuylkill. And the guys at AAA, by the way, I want to thank them as well. I want to thank Glenn and Eric from AAA because it's great meeting and talking with them before the game. But I had a great time. It could not have been treated any better, and the fans up there were just absolutely phenomenal. I was kind of blown away by the whole response. It was really, really well done. So I wanted to thank everybody for that. Thank you so much. All right, so we've got about 15 minutes left in the show, and in your not-so-calm world, I'm sure you're ready to attack.
Well, first, I got to give a quick reaction to what we heard from the great Phil Steele. I'm sorry, I can't buy Alabama in as a college football playoff team, at least not right now. I know the Nick Saban thing, you never want to down him, this and that, but at the same time, I'm kind of tired of hearing about that, especially when you look at Alabama on paper this year. I feel like this is the year where maybe we can try something different and not just automatically put them in. They don't have a quarterback at all right now. You mentioned the inexperience. So how is Alabama in the Final Four right now, other than by precedent? I'm sorry, I don't get that one.
Offensive and defensive lines are both really good. All right. They do not have the game breakers at wide receiver anymore that they've had. They had a great run at wide receiver for a long time. Now they have really good ones, but not great ones. They really had that's from Jamison Williams and Devontae Smith, and before that Jerry Jeudy and guys like that. Had a great run. They're not on that roll right now. The quarterback thing has to be concerning because neither quarterback, including Milroe, showed that they could seize the moment in the spring, that they had the potential to. He's not going to win a job in the spring. For example, James Franklin's going to go to the media day this week and he'll be asked a lot about Drew Aller, but he's not going to name Drew Aller the starting quarterback. Hey, nobody does that. You let it play out organically and see how it plays. Well, they added in the Buckner kid from Notre Dame, so he at least knows Tommy Rees. The question is whether he's the answer there. But their defense is still very good, and they're still good up front with the offensive and defensive lines. So the question is, do they have enough in the tank to make this happen? LSU's very good. God, really well coached. I mean, God, don't you love their coach?
No, senor! No, senor! No, senor!
But Jaden Daniels is very good. In a short period of time, they've developed some depth. LSU. I agree with them completely on Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 5-7 team that could be a 9 or 10 win team this season. Just that added year could mean a lot to them. Arkansas is not ready to move up. And Auburn is not ready, even though it'll be interesting to see what happens at quarterback between Robbie Ashford, and Peyton Thorne. I think Hugh Freeze in about 3 years will probably have them on track to being a contender. But at that point, it's going to be a 1 through 14, 1 through 16 proposition when that happens. It'll be 1 through 16 at that point. See how it plays out. And so Alabama, remember, it's more than just. There's no doubt that Bryce Young bailed them out of some games last year. No doubt about it. But it's still not an untalented team. There's a lot of talent there, especially in the trenches, and that's something you can't discount. Any other complaints about what Phil said? I mean, speaks highly of you.
No, that's my only thing. I can understand everything else this year from that Final Four.
Well, Clemson's interesting in that
they are, but I can see that just based on things that I've seen and heard, and I agree. I think in Notre Dame's schedule, I don't think that's going to be a good game for them this year.
Yeah. I obviously Georgia has a new quarterback. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with Georgia this year, and that they are more talented than everybody they face on the schedule. But are you week by week motivated every week in the schedule? I mean, they played in Missouri last year, and they had to fight their guts out to win the game. Now, that's one game. And the Clemson thing, like I said, I didn't see much of it, but I saw some of their practice before the ACC championship game because I was down there for basketball. Like, a lot of athletes. There's no question. There are a lot of athletes out there. And a lot's going to depend on the kind of year Klubnik has, because DJ Uiagalelei is now at Oregon State. So, and there'll be a game late in the year with Florida State that they have. That's going to be really important. They also play Notre Dame. I think the Notre Dame game is that game at Clemson?
Yeah, it's at Clemson this year.
Okay. I know how much you love the ACC portion of the Notre Dame schedule.
No, señor! No, señor! No, señor!
Except Clemson. Other than that, everything's a snooze fest.
Sort of, yeah. All right. We'll come back with more in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK. All right, great to have you with us on the show today. Brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. The Athletic put out a great article about Penn State getting into the Big Ten in the vote, which we've talked about, I don't know how many times on this show, about Michigan, Michigan State, Indiana all voting no, and that they had to convince Northwestern they weren't going to be kicked out. I mean, that's essentially what this is. That's the story is the same story. I've told you how many times in the show. Minnesota Athletic Director Rick Bay hated the idea of Penn State coming because of the travel part of it, but its president was all for it, so they voted yes. And Bo Schembechler did not like how it was done. Bob Knight convinced Ehrlich, the president, that of his university, don't. And then what did he say? Do you know how hard it is to get to Penn State? Donna Shalala, who was at Wisconsin at the time, said, "Excuse me, over here in the back, you know how hard it is to get to Bloomington?" She doesn't take a lot from people, I'll say that. She does not take a lot from people. So, and this really kicked off the first real big expansion that happened across college sports. And it obviously changed everything. I mean, everything you're seeing today with movement left and right, it really started with Penn State and the Big Ten. And I'll never forget doing a talk show in the summer of 1989 I used to have a show on here in State College from 5:30 to 7. I had Jim Tarman on. And I said, there's always been talk about conference affiliation, and Joe tried so hard with the all sports conference. I said, is there any thought on the possibility of Penn State eventually affiliating with a conference? He goes, well, we've had some discussions. I said, one that's always been thought of is the Big Ten. I asked, I said, would conversation with the Big Ten be on the front burner or the back burner? And how high is the burner? And he says, probably back on low. And what my first thought was? That means the burner is on. Seriously. It's exactly what I thought. Jim was sitting 5 feet from me, and my first thought was, that means the burner's on.
You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury. You can hear us anywhere in the world with the Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation app.